Well, hey, you guys, I am thrilled to have Nero Feliciano with us today. She is a cognitive psychotherapist, yes, and an expert on psychology and brain science. She's also a wife and a mom of 4, and her new book, All Is Comish, is out, and she is just incredible, you guys. She has such incredible wisdom and insight. She's one of my favorite people, so the fact that she is here in studio, I'm just so excited about. All right, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend. And here is our conversation. I'm so glad you're here.
Me too.
This makes me so happy. Okay, so as we're going into the holidays, you have been talking about this subject, thinking about this subject a lot with just the world. Because number one, your book, All Is Comish, is out. And I love it. All Is Comish.
Good.
Such a fun title.
It's true, right?
It is.
Ish.
Yes. Yeah. Never fully, it feels like. So I'm curious from you, like, your perspective of why do you feel like we are the way we are in America today, of just overabundance of not just like the consumer side and like the buying of the holidays, but our time, like our expectations, like where we have to be, all of that. Like, does it feel like a lot? And has it always been like that? Or am I just a grown-up now? And I feel like I realize it.
I'm a therapist, and just hearing you say that makes me feel overwhelmed. So I can only imagine the average person. It is. And I think part of it, why, especially in the holidays, it gets so overwhelming, because we're all operating at maximum capacity all year long, right? Do you know anyone who has extra mental bandwidth these days?
Totally.
Especially parents, you know, when every activity is year round and there's a sign up for everything and an app that you have to sign into for passwords you don't remember, you know, every single time.
Yes.
So then we think about, we have to run life like that and then put everything else on top of the holidays. So that's where I think it gets to be kind of emotional overload during that time. But then we're also living in this culture that's bigger, better, more.
Yes.
All the time.
Yes.
Right? And we're inundated with what life could look like and what life for someone else looks like and how much better it is all the time, because everyone has access to social media on their phones. So I think a combination of the two, because that piece also still goes on on the holidays. Then it's just tailored to the holidays. Look what you have to do. Look what you can get. You know, look how beautiful your house can look. Gets all then.
It just merges and collides
together.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's what it feels like. Yeah. So it is probably the pace at which we live normally, which I never even really thought about that.
Yeah.
Because you kind of just, I can just focus in on like a specific time on the calendar. But then when you stop and examine everything, you're like, oh no, your normal day to day.
Right.
Is already crazy and going like every hour is booked with something. And then you put holidays on top, and then you add technology and being able to see what everyone's doing. So, so people are feeling that. Like, I talk about money a lot, of like the margin of your money and your finances, and like, how do we have expectations and be wise about that? But from like a time and a relational standpoint, what does that look like for people as they're going into the holidays and planning trips, seeing family that they may or may not even want to see?
Right. That's a whole other conversation.
Friends. Yeah. So like, what is that? How do you even start? Like, if someone does feel so overwhelmed and they're like, okay, I'm going to this holiday season, life already is crazy. What are things they can like think through, prioritize, put boundaries up, like all of it? Like, where can they even start?
Yeah, and I had to think about that for the book,
yes,
right? Because it usually starts with us, and then we set the tone for our household. Yeah. So I actually wrote this book through 2 holidays, because the deadline actually got pushed out a year. But I said, okay, now I'm writing it through the second one. I'm going to practice what I know I put into place. And part of that is just starting with a moment of calm in your day. That could be 1 minute of breathing before you go on your phone to just center. It actually doesn't take long, Rachel.
Yeah.
You know, we think about all these practices that we're told that we need to do, all these wellness lists that we're trying to check off, and even that gets overwhelming.
Sure.
Start with 1 minute of breathing before you go on any device in the morning, right? And the other thing I did was I created a little small ritual for myself that I would try to do a couple times a week. And all it was I sat down. I actually did a devotional, because that's what I do. But I lit a candle. And there was something about having that candle and the smell of it and a focal point. All of this took all of 5 minutes, by the way.
Sure.
But it changed my energy in the day. And I would also say, aside from, for me, that was something I had to look forward to throughout the whole season. But take 3 things when you think about your whole season, everything you do. 3 things that you say, I'm going to be fully present for that.
Yes.
We cannot be fully present all throughout the day. I love people who can, but most of us can't.
Sure.
Right? We run at this crazy pace.
Right.
The 3 things that those are important to me. I don't want to miss it. I want to remember it 2 holidays, 3 holidays from now. And that gives us a sort of structure that we can then begin to build around. So
I love that. And I even like that you kind of put a little bit of a time frame because you're like, during the season, do this because it calms you during this craziness.
Right.
It may be a habit you take on for the rest of the year.
Right.
That you love. But even the senses, like the smell of the candle, like people talk about that, the memory of what someone told me when I first got pregnant with my first. She said, wear a different perfume during each pregnancy. And when you go back, you'll remember. And I'm not kidding. It is crazy. And I did 3 different scents through my pregnancy. But all that to say, the power of even just smell.
Yes.
And so I'm like, so engage your body, engage your senses with it to allow your actual body to calm down and be present. Because there, I'm assuming you kind of get a clearer mind to make other decisions that are coming up.
You absolutely do.
Better.
The senses are powerful. And even when people are having panic attacks, one of the grounding exercises we do is engage your 5 senses in the moment around you.
What do you see? What do you smell?
That's right. Exactly. So that's very true.
So interesting. Okay, so you get this ritual in place.
Yes.
You can calm down, kind of like.
It doesn't have to be fancy, literally, like 3 to 5 minutes.
Yes.
But it's something that grounds you in that moment.
But be consistent with it.
Yes.
Because then that leads to the ability to have a level of mental capacity.
That's right.
To start to make these decisions. And as people look forward and they're like, okay, maybe they've gone through Thanksgiving or something, right? And they're heading into the Christmas season. What do you say of expectations of other people during the holidays?
Yes.
And what do you do to I don't know, when are you supposed to quote unquote just be a good person? And you know what I mean? Which is such more the people pleaser side. And then where do you put up the boundary and say, okay, we don't have time for X, Y, and Z? Because we literally don't. And if I say yes to these things, it's going to cause chaos and disruption and it's not worth it. We're going to create some margin in that. How do you pick and choose and how do you create those boundaries?
Yeah. It's complicated depending on the situation, right?
Yeah.
And there isn't a scripted answer that's going to fit everybody's situation.
Yeah.
But I do think we can go back to what about this situation can I control? Because that's all we can control. We can't control how someone else is going to respond or what they're going to bring up. We can plan our responses to it, though. Right?
Yes.
So whether that means, okay, I need to step away when things get heated. I need to work on what will it take to calm me down in that moment. I live in the north, as you know, and it's cold, and cold actually helps. So maybe if you live down here, you just stick your head in the freezer at that moment when someone says something, right?
The freezer, open the refrigerator.
Right, because that actually calms us. But I think go back to what can I control and what do I have to let go of and surrender in that moment. And in terms of being a nice person, there are varying degrees of that. Right?
Sure.
We can be cordial, we can be loving, but at the same time, boundaries enable us to stay nice and loving. So that's going to be important too, because we're also trying to protect our family, right? Because sometimes those interactions affect everyone in our family, even maybe our kids in that moment.
Sure.
And I think there's this conception that misconception that boundaries, if you set boundaries, you're kind of a jerk and you're not loving, but they actually enable us to stay compassionate for longer.
Yes.
So boundaries can look like in the holidays, someone wants to come and stay at your house for 2 weeks and you say, hey, we would love to see you, but we've made plans for some of those days. Can you come from, Friday to Tuesday or whatever it might be?
And you're the proactive one.
That's right.
Yes.
Right.
Of setting that up.
Yeah.
All right. More of my conversation with Nero in a minute. But first, I do want to tell you about one of our sponsors, Christian Healthcare Ministries. More than 100 million Americans carry medical debt, which shows traditional coverage often leaves people to face big bills alone. And families need more than coverage. They need community. And that's why I love Christian Healthcare Ministries, a budget-friendly, faith-based alternative to health insurance. So there are no networks, no insurance headaches. Go to chministries.org/budget to learn more. And you guys, when you're working the baby steps, your bank shouldn't be working against you. That's why I love Fairwinds Credit Union. They share Ramsey values like getting out of debt, saving for the future, and putting people first. Their smart checking and savings bundle was designed to line up with the baby steps. So if you're ready to move your money somewhere that supports your financial goals, Fairwinds is what you've been looking for. Just head to fairwinds.org/Ramsey to open your smart checking and savings bundle today. I get a sense, and I don't want to say it's true for I don't want to make a blanket statement, but I do feel like there's kind of been this trend recently of, gosh, my parents or my family maybe voted a certain way,
Yes.
or, or maybe you're in therapy yourself and you're realizing, oh my gosh, my parents weren't perfect. And maybe there was some hurt there. There just seems to be a lot of fractured relationships. And I feel like I hear more and more of this almost applause to people that like remove themselves. Yes. And again, it may not be everywhere, but I feel like I start to kind of see pockets, and I have been in situations and know very close friends that there was an abusive situation, and there is there are reasons to put up hard boundaries, 100%. And then as not that extreme, but even like people that literally don't have money. They're like, I literally cannot buy a plane ticket to fly across the country this Christmas. Like we cannot afford it, right? And that's a boundary you don't have the means to do it, right? And that's going to be a boundary. So there are reasons for boundaries, absolutely. Do you think that we've gone too crazy with our approach to, I don't want to even call it boundaries because I think that word can be thrown out, but relational, I don't know. I hate to say severedness, but does that make sense? Like, I don't know. I feel like I hear more and more of people cutting people off, and there's like an applause to it versus like a grief.
Yeah.
And I just feel like there's a sadness there to that.
I 100% agree with you in that we're seeing way too much of it in situations that don't warrant it. In situations where, okay, we can actually have a really beautiful, productive, healthy relationship and not have every piece in alignment, right?
Right.
And a lot of times the relationships I'm hearing about are adult children cutting off their parents.
Yes, that's
older
it. Yes.
children.
Yes.
Which is also very sad.
Yes.
Yes. So I think part of it is we live in a culture where everything deserves attention, every opinion, every viewpoint, and people platform them. And at the end of the day, it's like, what is it that is going to make your life fulfilling? Is it standing on this one issue? For some people, it might be. But for the majority of people, it's not.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
I always think before you're about to set those kind of boundaries. And some of them, you may have irreconcilable issues, and that's different. There may be abuse. It may be toxicity. That's different.
Yes.
But we're using those labels far too easily before we're really exploring the situation. And I would say, think about your history with this person. Think about the moments where you've shown up for each other. Think about times where this has actually meant something to you. And is that possible now? And especially if we take away that one issue that's creating conflict, can we still have this type of relationship? For some, the answer is no. And in that case, okay. But unless we stop to ask those questions, we're never going to know.
Yes.
We're never going to know. And what we lose may be far more valuable than what we gain by setting the boundaries. So we have to go through that process.
No, that's so good. Because as we're talking about the holidays and relationships and all of that, it is, it's interesting because I'm like, you can't be everywhere, right? So there may be times you're going to have to say no. But then I do always wonder, if you look back, are there times that we said no to a full relationship, which is just so sad, and or ongoing, holiday traditions or whatever. And do we get to be 80 years old and look back at our life and be like, wow, my priorities were actually the opposite. It should have been probably more people-oriented than maybe some other things that we're putting. I don't know. But it is interesting because I feel like we're in that season as a family, just in the sense of kids and activities, and we're getting pulled from 3 different grades now where my kids are, and parents, different groups of parents, which are so fun. I mean, but our world just starts to get bigger and bigger, and we're like, oh my gosh, we can't. So my husband looked at me the other day. He was like, Rachel, we can't say yes to everything. Like we really can't. And I'm like, I know, but I want to. But everything's so social and fun. And I'm like, we can do this party and then leave early to go to this. And he's like, babe, just.
But you mentioned something that's really important, and this is one way we look at Are we investing our time in the right places? Think about when you are 80 years old, towards that stage of your life, and you look back on your life. What do you find is going to be valuable even then when you look back? What would you regret if you didn't do?
Yes.
And that question can actually be a guide to
filtering.
how you invest your time in money and relationships now.
Yes. No, that's so good. Okay. Those are all good things to remember, especially I feel like coming up on the holidays. You talk about in the book to choose connection over perfection, which I love. Because I am not a perfectionist. That is one thing that I've never struggled with. No. I struggle with a lot of things, discontentment, all the things. There's a lot of things.
4 kids broke me. But perfection.
I'm like cut corners where you can. I think it's great. Yes. Like I'm fine with it. But I know for certain personalities, even within my own nuclear family, even I'm like I can see the ones that like it is such a part of who they are.
Yes.
Of like doing and if you can't do it perfect, I don't want to do it all of it. Yes.
Yep.
And so they'll put their time and effort into these tasks that at the end of the day, I'm like, you're okay. Like, it's okay if it's not great. But during the holidays, why is this so important to choose that connection over the perfection?
I think there are a couple reasons now. I mean, and I can't underestimate the impact of social media.
Yeah.
The photographing of things, the posting of things, especially when everybody else is doing it. It really is so powerful. And we talk about it. I mean, you and I can talk about it and be like, it's so stupid. But we still all do it 100%. On some level.
Yes.
Right? It's part of our culture now.
Yes.
But I think when we think about it at the end of it, are we depleted? Are we exhausted? And if we are, and have we enjoyed the people who are the most important to us in that season? We have to take account of if we are feeling depleted and exhausted, if we don't feel like we got enough time with them, if the season went by too fast, then what can we eliminate that at the end of the day, and I hate to say it because I think it's important to do things for ourselves.
Yeah.
But no one else cares about but you.
Yes.
No one else in your family cares about, or people coming over, whatever it is.
Yes.
This is why now I tell my friends, come over to my house. Like, it's going to be messy.
Yes.
I have 4 kids. We have 2 jobs. It's going to be messy. Just come over.
Yes.
Because I'd rather do that than spend all the time perfecting the way my house looks and never spending that time with my friends.
Yes.
So questions like that, I think, they're important. And it's really just being honest with yourself about what's going on around us.
Yes. I even think like when we have dinner, I have like 2 friends and I love them dearly, but they do it all the time. And I'm like, stop, come sit down. They'll like get up and do dishes. In the middle, you know what I mean? Like, and it's even that kind of, and I know it's probably more for efficiency than like worried about perfection by any means, but there is something of like, we can get so task oriented. Yeah. We can put this expectation of what things should be.
Yeah.
For other people, really not even for ourselves.
True. But they're doing that because they love you and they want to help you.
No, at their house.
Oh, at their house. Oh, I thought it's your house. I was like,
that too. They will do it at mine too.
If they do it at my house, go ahead.
They start to, they start to like get up and do it. And I'm like, just stop it. Like,
their house.
Yeah,
because they can't sit till it's done.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
They can't relax.
That's right.
Until it's done.
Yes, I know. And that's what they say all the time. And it's so funny. And I mean,
I'm not that person.
It's just an example. It's like a quick, it takes them 15 minutes. It's not the end of the world. But you take, any level of that and extrapolate it over the course of the entire holiday season, right? And you're just like, oh my gosh, let's don't
here's another thing too, right? Practice even at 5 to 10 minute increments of your day, just being bored. Doing something without listening to something.
Oh God, that's hard.
Having something on. I mean, we do it driving for 5 to 10 minutes with being bored.
And not looking at your phone.
Because that helps us to practice being present. Right?
Yes.
So that person who's getting up to do the dishes and in the middle of a conversation has trouble directing their thoughts to that moment right then. And this is a way that we can train our brain to do it in other moments that are more consequential, more impactful.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's so interesting. I was just talking to a friend literally yesterday about kind of this topic.
Yes.
Where I started examining, my husband asked me this question. So now I'm just kind of aware, I'm watching, feeling my brain, where it's going during the day, where my thoughts go. And I'm like, it is so true how I'm going to say 98% of where my brain is most of the time is thinking about, and not even the future, 5 years, but in the next, 2 hours of I got a 3:30 here, we got a, dinner at 6, I got to leave the house by 6, you're there. I don't necessarily think about the past a ton. I know some people, their mind can kind of go there, but rarely do I practice just literally like, even when I'm driving, like last night I did it because we were talking about it.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm driving my 2 kids, listening to like Forrest Frank or whatever,
Right.
Tucsonic and she went to, I don't know. I was like replaying and just like, this is what I'm doing right now.
Yep.
I had to make myself though think it. Like it doesn't just come.
It's a practice.
But it is.
Right. Yeah. Because everything in our life and our culture now pulls us away from that, right? We're standing in the grocery store for literally 1 minute. We're bored. We take out our phone.
Yes.
And also in those moments, we limit our ability to think more deeply. So think about big ideas. Think about, our purpose and our meaning, because we don't give us the moment, the chance to actually let those things come up.
Yes.
So that's the bigger picture
of what
benefit
you're getting there.
Of the small practices.
So good. But every season too, I'm like, even through summer, people, the number one thing everyone always says is, I can't believe it's over. It went so fast, right?
Yes.
And people say that about the holiday season too.
All the time.
When you come back in January, you're like, oh my gosh, it's just like, I can't believe it's over.
I didn't feel that way. The one time it didn't feel
when you
I
did the book
my
and
ritual.
you were
Yes. Even though it was so small, I felt like I had these micro moments of presence and things. And I ended the holiday feeling differently, not how I had every other year. And I have 4 kids and a job, right? So if I can incorporate that in a small way,
so it's a testament
feel that way. Yes,
it works. Everything in there. It's your time. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Okay, what else would you say as we end this that you're like, I want people to know this for the season coming up? It could be from the book or just from your thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, I think the connection over perfection is a big piece of it, and to think about what do you remember from your holidays growing up? What are you taking with you now as adults? And if we think about it, they probably look different than what we're experiencing right now and what we're doing right now.
Yep.
The extent to which we are doing.
Yes.
So if you stop and think about that and think about what do you want your kids to remember 20 years from now?
Yeah.
Those are the areas we focus on. And then it allows us to think about, okay, what can I let go? And maybe we don't let go of it forever, but trial run it.
Yeah, for
right?
a few months.
For
one
holiday.
Yes.
All right, maybe we'll do a little bit less so we can feel more, right? We can be more present.
Yes. With the kids and their memories, when you said that, is there, I don't even know, is there like scientific studies or something around the idea that experiences and moments as a family versus actual things and what they... Because I mean, I think it's always, people always ask it and it's true. We're like, what did you get for your 6th Christmas? When you're 6 years old. Most people can't answer it, but they can talk about, here's the tradition we always did X, Y, and Z. But there
is, because the experience usually involves connection, right? And we know from the Harvard study of well-being, it's our greatest predictor of well-being, the strength of our connections. So experience also incorporates that piece of it. And then neurologically, there are different neurochemicals. So when we get something new, it's a lot of dopamine, which we know fades over time. Yeah. So if you ask my kids, what'd you get last Christmas? They probably can't remember.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But if you ask, what did we do? Or bring up some sort of experience you might have, they'll remember. They'll remember going to the show together, right? In the city. So that also then releases oxytocin. That boosts our serotonin. So those are longer acting kind of appreciation neurochemicals versus kind of the quick high-low of dopamine. So yes.
Amazing. I knew it. I was like, I knew we were created in some way for that to be true.
Yeah, it is
oh my
true.
Gosh, amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for all the wisdom and everything. And where can everyone get the book?
Thank you. Anywhere. All your
the great
Amazon
stores, too.
Amazon, Barnes and Noble. And thank you, because you have a chapter in my book where you shared your wisdom about talking about money and budgets. Tough conversation.
I know, this is actually like our introduction was the interview. Yeah. I think the first time we actually
first kind of in-person Zoom
call. Yes, I know, which I so appreciated. So great. Okay, and where can everyone find you?
Well, on today.com, I actually searched myself today. I'm like, I'm here a lot. So
here I am.
You can find a lot of the things that I talk about there, but on my website, NeuroFeliciano.com, and then on Instagram too.
That's right. You're there too. So great. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Rachel.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. Now, if you're looking for more ways to have a stress-free holiday season, be sure to check out my episode, 3 Healthy Money Boundaries to Set with Family. You can click right here or click the description below. All right, you guys, remember to take control of your money and create a life you love. Well, hey, you guys. So the one thing that I love about money and personal finance is that a little bit of legwork on the front end has power to create such long-term success. Now, learning the basics and having good money habits and consistency, all of that is so crucial. And before you know it, you'll be making more progress than you ever thought was possible. And it might sound cheesy, but it's true. And this is just one of the many reasons why I love my job, because I'm always blown away by how people are able to transform their finances once they have access to the proven tools they need to actually let their money work for them. But there are a few tricks of the trade that you can't just put on autopilot. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So there are 5 numbers, percentages, rates, whatever you want to call them, that are really important to keep your eye on. I'll explain what these are and how you can leverage them to build wealth when you track them consistently. All right, the first number that you need to track in order to build wealth should also be your first step on your financial journey, and that is debt. So before you start tracking Zillow or CarMax or the stock market, your number one priority should be looking at how much debt that you have and how to eliminate it completely as quickly as possible. So keeping in mind the word tracking there is something that is active, it is moving, and your amount of debt is going to change over the course of time, for better or for worse. But as you start paying it down, obviously that's for the better. And so again, it's this idea that you're saying, hey, I'm going to know the amount of money I have that I owe to people, my debt, and I'm gonna have a plan to start paying that off. But the longer you put that off, the longer it's going to take you to pay off debts because of interest that you're continuing to pay, even some late fees if you're late paying those bills. So to get started with this, I recommend doing something called the debt snowball. This is a method that we've talked about for so long, and this helps you build momentum when it comes to paying off your debt. And this is where you're going to list out all of your debts, smallest to largest, regardless of the interest rate, pay minimum payments on everything, and attack that smallest debt first. Which brings me to the number 2 number that you should be tracking when you're building wealth, and that is savings. So when it comes to an emergency fund, this is crucial. I always tell people to get a $1,000 emergency fund first and foremost. And then once you're out of debt, you can bump that up to 3 to 6 months of expenses. Now, once that's all done, you have no debt, you have a fully funded emergency fund, then you're going to be looking at your life and you're going to want to know those numbers to say, hey, do I need to be saving up to replace a car? Do I need to be saving up for maybe a vacation we want to take? Am I saving up for things like retirements and accounts that are out there that I won't see for maybe a few more decades? Whatever it is, you want to be able to actively track your progress over time to know what is in your savings, because this is a really crucial number, because that emergency fund is there to catch you when life happens, but also things like sinking funds is going to help you live a lifestyle that you want, but doing it the right way. All right, the third number you should be tracking is something that applies to almost everyone on earth, and that is your income. Your income is your largest wealth building tool. It is the thing that is going to help you build wealth over time, because when your income comes in and you don't have half of it because it's going out to debt payments, it's hard to use the remaining income, not just for your life, but in order to invest and do things to help you build wealth. So when you have your entire paycheck working for you, that is so crucial. That's why paying off debt is really important. But it is important to know how much money you have coming in, knowing that number, and where it's all going. So a monthly budget does this, you guys. It is so crucial. It is a plan to help you when it comes to your spending. If you need to put money aside for savings, like we talked about earlier, all of it. But none of this is possible without that income. Your income is really crucial. And I can give you one piece of advice when it comes to tracking your income, because it's all about balance. And most of us have had a desire, to make more money, or maybe you're like, oh my gosh, I want to, do bigger and better things. And listen, that desire is not a bad thing. And I think it's great to be motivated and to work hard and to earn money and provide for yourself, to be giving and being generous. But make sure all of that is going alongside this idea of contentment as well. Because I hear a lot of young professionals say that everyone should be job hopping every year, because if you move jobs, then you actually have a better chance of making more money and all of this. I get the drive behind this, and studies have shown that moving around to different companies increases your salary by a larger percentage than just staying with one employer forever. But I don't necessarily think that that's the right mindset to have all the time, because again, in life, there are pros and cons to everything. And if you're really happy with your current job, then stay. I think it's rare to find a place that you love when it comes to work and it aligns with your values, your skill sets, your career aspirations. But with that being said, pay attention to your raise history. And if you haven't had one in a while, talk to your leader about that. Even do some market research and know, hey, what are some comparable roles even in my city? And make sure that you're earning enough money to be pushing your financial goals forward. Also, that you're, getting paid market value, I think is really important. But again, you want to be doing all of this. Those things are so good and so great, but sometimes we could just we want to claw for more and more and more and more. And again, sometimes that motivation isn't necessarily bad, but make sure that you do have a level of peace and contentment too. So I think familiarizing yourself with numbers is going to really help you know appropriately, hey, with my income, am I where I should be? And I think that's a really crucial question to ask yourself. All right, the fourth number that you should be tracking in order to build wealth is something that's related to your income and works in tandem with it. Like I mentioned earlier, I said I would circle back on this, but that is investing. So we touched on this a little bit, but again, once your emergency fund is funded of 3 to 6 months of expenses, investing is a really crucial number to know, and that is 15% of your income should be going towards building wealth. And these are going to be things like a Roth IRA or a 401k at work, but these things long-term are going to be making money while you sleep. I mean, it's amazing. Compound interest is a really beautiful thing, but your work doesn't end once you just start investing. Make sure that you increase those percentages over time once you've paid off your house and everything. So for example, again, let's just say you had no mortgage, your kids' college was taken care of, everything is good. Then you want to be increasing your giving and your investing. And I think at that point, it's a really crucial part of your life because it's going to probably be later on when you're a little bit older. So you're going to be able to throw some more money because retirement is coming sooner than you think and you want to be prepared for it. So again, that 15% is a really crucial number to know, and it will increase over time. But also, I think it's fun to look at your progress when it comes to investing. So if you're interested in that, make sure to check out our Ramsey Investment Calculator. It's really easy to use, and it can be really motivating to know where you're headed when it comes to retirement. So plug some of those numbers in. Have some fun with it. All right, the fifth number that you need to track is actually 3 numbers in one, and it all has to do with your mortgage. So you want to pay attention to this percentage, 25%. Your housing costs like your rent, mortgage, insurance, HOA fees should all be about 25% of your take-home pay. So this percentage is really crucial because we want to be able to free up your other 75% of your income to work for you. So whether that's investing or saving or giving, whatever it is, so that your house isn't taking up so much of your income. Next, I have another percentage for you to track, and that is interest rates. So interest rates are in the 6s and 7s right now as we're filming this, but they could drop soon. I mean, who knows? We don't know. So be watching those numbers because if you're buying a house recently, yeah, your interest rate is higher than it was a few years ago, but maybe you can refinance down to a lower rate when rates start to drop. So mortgage rates are constantly changing. So again, keep your eye out on that. And then the final number that you want to track is principal versus interest when it comes to your monthly mortgage payment. So the quicker you can pay money towards the principal of what you owe, the actual amount of money that you borrowed from the bank to buy your home, the better off you're going to be. So making a couple of extra mortgage payments every single year can actually shorten your timeline drastically and can save you thousands of dollars. But what you want to do when you pay that is to make sure to tell the mortgage company, put this extra payment towards the principal. And again, it's really, really key here because when you're paying down that principal, it's going to cause you to get out of that mortgage so much faster. And the idea of paying off your house, I know it can sound so weird and it sounds so crazy, but people are doing it, you guys. So it's actually really impressive. So run some of those numbers and look at it because it is really, really crucial. Now, the true wealth building power is in the details. So you want to keep track of everything going on in your life when it comes to your money. And Every Dollar is one of the best ways to do that. So this is a great budgeting app to help you keep track of your paycheck and know what is happening in your life. So you can go to everydollar.com/Rachel and create your custom budget for free and start making progress today. And if you haven't checked out my episode on easy ways to pay off your mortgage early, make sure to do that because that's so, so important, you guys. All right, remember to take control of your money and create a life you love. Well, hey, you guys. So I'm jumping into something that has been a challenge for a lot of us. keeping our budget simple. So I recently stumbled across a video from another creator here on YouTube who shares some pretty solid advice on this topic. So today I'm just reacting to his tips and sharing what I would apply or tweak in my own budgeting strategy. And make sure to stick around to the end because I'm revealing 3 of my favorite personal tips for keeping your budget simple, and you don't want to miss it. All right, tip number 1 from this creator was to simplify categories. So keep your budget categories broad. Now, I love this piece of advice because for me, I like the idea where it's kind of a bigger bucket. Things are going to come in. You don't want to complicate things, too much because if you're so nitpicky, it's kind of like, okay, where does this thing go? Where does that go? And again, you're kind of simplifying those categories. It makes it quicker to be able to say, hey, here's where this is. So if, maybe a Costco run, for instance, in one category, and instead of sitting down with that long receipt and assigning it to different things, maybe you just plop it all into a Costco category. That's what we do. And again, it makes the process when it comes to budgeting so much faster and more effective for me. I like this. This is kind of what Winston and I do. But I will say month to month, little things will come up like Caroline's birthday. So that's a line item right now because she wants to go skating. So we're like, okay, we're going to put that there. We have a trip this month. So we're going to put a line item there. So we will add kind of specific categories depending on what's going on. But our month to month, when we use the EveryDollar budget and it goes and it duplicates the month, I would say 90% of the budget stays the exact same. So using those bigger categories, again, I like it because it's kind of more of a catch-all. All right, his tip number 2 is use technology wisely. So here they suggest using budgeting apps and tools to keep track of your spending. And obviously, I'm all for that. It just mentions EveryDollar, which is a budgeting app that I recommend. I love it. It is such a fantastic tool, again, to keep your budget going in real time. It's really user-friendly. You're able to track your transactions. And it goes with the zero-based budgeting method, which is what I like, with your income at the top and then all the categories underneath by priority. It's really important. So I love that. Use technology. I think it's great. All right, tip number 3, emergency fund priority. So this is a big one. The first step of the 7 baby steps is to get a $1,000 starter emergency funds. And, obviously I stand behind this advice. And having that financial safety net of margin in the bank is so huge. And you can start small, but it's going to grow over time, meaning that you're going to have that $1,000. And then once you become debt free, you're going to bump that up to 3 to 6 months of expenses. And so again, allocating spending is so key, especially if you're on one of those 2 steps, and having it at the top to build up that buffer and to build up that emergency fund is really key. So I like this too because you're able to prioritize what you want. And so that savings needs to be towards the top of your budget to make sure that you do it. To get that $1,000, or again, if you're out of debt, the 3 to 6 months of expenses, fully funded emergency fund. All right, tip number 4 is round. So this is an interesting one, rounding down your paycheck in your budget. So for example, if you make, $1,656, you would budget for $1,600. So you round down. Now, I get why this is kind of appealing because it's going to force you then to have a cushion, because if you're only budgeting, $1,600, that other $56 or whatever it is, it's just going to be around. And that's, I guess, for this person is saying, well, it's great because it'll automatically give you that cushion. But what I would say, though, is to plan for that $56. And maybe it is for savings. Maybe it is for a miscellaneous category, which I think everyone should have, by the way, in your budget. You need a miscellaneous category. But I do like the idea of budgeting every single dollar. And there's something gratifying that when even my paycheck hits, I literally change it in the EveryDollar budget to the exact dollar amount, because it's just I want to squeeze out every dollar I can to budget. Because I don't know, it's just, I like that it feels better. I feel like you have more control over every single dollar that's coming in. All right, tip number 5, regular check-ins. So regular check-ins with your budget, it is essential. So don't just set up your budget and forget it. I think a lot of people feel like, okay, well, I did my budget, that's great. And then they move on with their life. But your budget is there to be in your life. Almost on a daily basis, you guys, just to know, hey, what's going on? And so that you have that control, you know what's in each category. And I would say this too, make it a habit that you kind of just check in. And maybe you start off with every 2 to 3 days, or maybe once a week. So maybe it's Monday, I'm going to review the budget and look at it. But again, when you use an app like EveryDollar, it's just so easy to check in and track your transactions and kind of know where you're at, that for me, it's a part of what I do. I'm terrible. I unlock my phone and literally the apps I go to is Instagram, the weather app, and EveryDollar. I just sit there and I'm like, oh, here. So just kind of make it part of that routine. Let's all admit we're semi-addicted to our phones. And I just think, make that part of the addiction because it actually is going to be good. It's going to be good. Okay, so now that I've reacted to some of that advice, as promised, here are my top 3 tips for keeping your budget simple. But before I get into those, I want to tell you about a faith-based alternative to health insurance that can make healthcare more affordable. Christian Healthcare Ministries. CHM allows members to share each other's healthcare costs, and it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. So step 1, choose the healthcare provider you want. Step 2, submit your eligible bills. And step 3, get reimbursed. CHM members take care of your eligible medical bills. And with no networks and the freedom to choose your healthcare provider, CHM is the best option for Christians who want to take care of their families and help other believers. So to find out more, go to chministries.org/budget. All right, so here are my tips, again, to simplify your budget. Number 1, reward yourself. So reward yourself when you hit a major financial milestone. Now, this is different than little treat culture that is out there. So I'm not saying every little thing you do, you just go and reward yourself and spend all that money. But celebrate those big wins. And one of those might be sticking to the budget. Maybe you do the budget for the first month and it's terrible. The second month, though, you're like, oh, it worked. Okay, so enjoy that. Like, celebrate that. Or maybe there's a debt that you're like, are we ever going to pay this off? And then once it's paid off, then it's like, okay, we're going to go treat ourselves, right? And I'm not talking about spending like a crazy amount of money. Obviously, we want to be realistic, but enjoy life through that process. I think getting new habits and gaining traction, it takes a lot of work and a lot of sacrifice. So there is times to let yourself live a little bit and enjoy life. All right, tip number 2 is give yourself grace. And this one is huge, you guys, because typically with your budget, if you've never done one before, it's going to take about 3 months to get it to work. So do not beat yourself up if you don't get it right away. Be patient and allow yourself to find the time to really make it work. And I'll say this too. Our budget throughout the month, we change it. So I want you to hear that. Things come up and other categories have to adjust. Or maybe you forgot, like, oh yeah, we had this in the budget and it's not happening anymore, so we can take it out. Well, there's some money left over. What are we going to do with that? So throughout the month, it's going to change, and that's okay. But give yourself some grace. Nobody's perfect when it comes to this stuff. All right, tip number 3 is make it visual. So this is a really important part of budgeting. You don't just want it in your head. A lot of people are like, well, I have all my numbers in my head. It's going to be really hard to keep track of that, you guys. So having something that you can see the progress, that you're able to adjust very easily, and you're able to really say, okay, I'm going to be able to make changes and I can do it and visually see the numbers. And I do think too, sometimes money can be really stressful and it's so much in our heads, but when you get things down on paper or visually in front of you, it really helps simplify to say, okay, like this is where we're at. Here's the reality, not something I'm making up in my head. Here's the reality. And it just gives you power back and control. All right, you guys, that's it. Some ways to simplify your budgets, which I think is so, so important. And so with these tips, again, have some patience, but create your budget for you and your lifestyle and your life. And since your paycheck is a major part of making your budget, I have a great video on paycheck routines that you should check out so that you know exactly what you're getting when it comes to doing a budget. So you guys remember to take control of your money and create a life you love. So my husband Winston and I, we've been married for 15 years, and it feels like a solid chunk of time. But in the grand scheme of things, you know, we are still green, still learning about marriage every single day. And so today, I'm going to talk about 3 pieces of advice that we were given when it comes to money and marriage that really has helped us. So be sure to like, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend. And just so you guys know, I'm always like a little hesitant to give like parenting advice and marriage advice because I think you can change a lot and your opinions can change. And we do not have all the answers. So I always like kind of hesitate. But this was advice that was given to us, which honestly has helped us so much when we're looking at our money, but also other areas of our life. So the first piece of advice was the triangle theory. So this is where when a problem comes up, it's you and your spouse versus the problem. So it's kind of like, looks like a triangle, right? So you and your spouse are at the bottom and the problem is out there because it is so easy to make your spouse the enemy. We're like, why are you doing that? Why did you do that? But what's the actual problem that we're looking at? And so working together to identify the issue and to look out and be like, okay, that's the issue. So what do we do about that? And there is something really uniting about it. It takes some tries to get down to this theory for sure, once I am not perfect at it. But it does help because there is something about looking at an actual problem to help find the solution to that problem versus looking at your spouse and being like, you have to fix this and fix that. Or they're looking at you and being like, fix this, fix that. And whenever, I've learned this from Dr. John Deloney, you enter into conflict and you're saying, well, you, it never really goes right. It doesn't, because the other person gets really defensive. And so it's always about coming back to you. But looking at the problem together out there has helped so much. So the triangle theory, as an example, it's like, okay, well, one of you is like, okay, I'm going to come home from work at this time, but it never happens, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, you say that you're going to come home at this time, but you're not. And it's always later. Like, can you just give me a heads up? So looking at that as time management is the problem. So what is going on that's causing either the communication not to happen or something at work that continues to come up, or you're just not planning well, right? But making that the problem. Or if maybe, the wife is overspending in a certain area, it's not like, oh my gosh, you're so irresponsible. It's you. No, let's look at overspending as the problem. Why is it the problem? Is it because maybe, the budget that was set, the number that was set in that category is not realistic? Maybe that's the problem. Or maybe it is like, oh yeah, I do just like to spend money and sometimes I get a lot out of control and I don't spend what we said we were going to. And so I need to be thinking through why I do that, right? So it's all of that. But the triangle theory, I love. Number 2 is to ask yourself what needs fixing within you. So this takes a lot of humility on this end. But sometimes we can look at the other party with a lot of, judgment and resentment, so maybe some mistrust. But you have to realize, okay, all of that can be very true, very honest. But then also, what is going on inside of you? Like, what are things about you? Because sometimes one spouse can take all the brunt of something, and there is something to say about, okay, is there anything within me that needs healing? And I can say, yes, we all do. We all do. And so there's something about that that's really uniting within couples. But again, it does take a lot of humility. But when it comes to differences in money, I see this a lot where, like, if you're more of the nerd and you like things organized and all of this, you can look at the free spirit and you're like, oh my gosh, they're so irresponsible. What are they doing? They don't care about details. Like, oh my gosh, they need to grow up, whatever. But you can learn something from that free spirit. And then the same free spirit, you can learn something from the nerd. So we can always be looking to each other and knowing, okay, I can learn something from you because there's something in me that constantly needs to be learning and growing. And so there's something really humble about that approach, which I love. All right, before I share more, I want to tell you about one of our amazing sponsors, Christian Healthcare Ministry. You guys, health insurance costs are only moving one way, and that way isn't down. The wait times are longer, and it's harder than ever to get anything approved. And if you feel like the system is working against you, try Christian Healthcare Ministries, a biblically based alternative to health insurance. CHM is a health cost-sharing ministry that's helped hundreds of thousands of families take care of healthcare costs, stay true to their values, and avoid getting tied down by miles of red tape. You guys, there is a better way. CHM programs start as low as $98 a month. So find out more and join at chministries.org/budget. That's chministries.org/budget. And the third thing that someone told us, and it was so true and so real, was be radically honest and transparent. Dr. John Deloney talks about how secrets will destroy relationships. And you can start to hold a grudge sometimes over something that maybe you just don't want to say, or maybe you're thinking something, you have a fear, but you don't want to say it out loud. The more honest you can be with your spouse and the more open you are, yeah, there's a risk there because you could either be rejected in that, or they may not be able to fulfill the thing that you're like, oh my gosh, I have this fear. Can you help me fix that? And if they can't, then what does that mean? I don't know. There can be some back and forth there. There's a level of emotional risk. But if your spouse is someone that you trust and that you have respect for, and you're like, yeah, they can hold it, that there's something about both of you, both parties coming in and saying, golly, that I keep having this thought. I just want to say it out loud. There's something about that is so healthy and so cleansing. And sometimes you want to bring a third party in even, right? I love marriage counseling or therapy. I think it's fantastic. But the more honest and intimate you can be emotionally with what's going on with you, the deeper connected you and your spouse are going to be. And it can take practice if you're a pretty guarded person. That may not come natural to you. But there's something in that that's really beautiful. And there were older couples that told us that consistently. And then I feel like when we like really that clicked and that happened, like something changes and it's really, really beautiful. Now, I always have the caveat when we're talking about money and marriage or just marriage in general that, yeah, if something like really dysfunctional is going on, then bring in a third party. I mean, honestly, there is something about that these tips can only take you so far. If there's like really deep, painful work that needs to be done, do that, okay? So I always say that with the caveat, but if you and your spouse are continuing to wanting to grow and learn, again, these are 3 things that have helped us throughout our marriage. And obviously don't have the perfect marriage by any means, but I am grateful that Winston does make me feel very heard and safe in conversations. And that is something that we have worked together and grown in, both of us having that. And again, not perfect at it, but it has helped over our 15 years of marriage. All right. If you are, though, looking for a fun and memorable way to connect with your spouse and to get on the same page financially, make sure to check out our next Money and Marriage Getaway. It is a great weekend where Dr. John Deloney and I dive deep into the subject of money and marriage, both of these, because together it can be very, very complicated. We kind of scratched the surface just with this video, but it is a weekend away here in Nashville at Ramsey Solutions, and it is so fun, you guys. Like, I always use that word because it is. Like, there is some heavy stuff and we get into some really serious subjects. But overall, there's a beautiful thing about connecting with other people and knowing that you're not alone. And so if you want to check out the tickets, you can check it out down at the link I'll put below and you can claim your spots. But there's a couple for sale right now and we are pumped and would love to see you in Nashville. Now, when I think back on Winston and I's early days, I wish we had known a thing or two about what not to do. But if you are there and you are newlyweds, make sure to check out my episode, Biggest Mistakes Newlyweds Make in the First Year. You can click right here, or if you're listening on podcast, click the link below. All right, you guys remember to take control of your money and create a life you love. Hey, you guys. So recent data is finding that fewer people are shopping in store than they were just 20 years ago. But studies are also finding that consumers are spending more money than ever before. So how can both of these things be true? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. And stay tuned because I'm also sharing 5 tips to keep you under budget while most of the country is falling for all these consumer traps. And before we get started, make sure to hit that subscribe button on this channel so you don't miss a future episode. New data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics says that stores are seeing significantly less traffic than just a few decades ago. But the price of daily essentials has gone up, and we all know this because we're feeling the pain, right? Just because we're not in-person shopping, even if we're doing it online, man, things are getting more and more expensive. And the reason that both of these things are true at the same time is because online shopping has just taken over, right? I mean, we don't go into actual stores anymore because it's all at our fingertips. I mean, literally from Amazon to Instacart to online bills and baking. I mean, we are spending hundreds every single week without even leaving our house. I mean, it is wild how much you can do, how much shopping, how much buying, just your phone. I'm like, even our pizza place has an app. So it's like you hit the app, you hit Apple Pay, you pay it with a literally two hits of a button, and then it shows up. I mean, it is wild how easy it is to spend, how convenient it is in one way, but that usually means we are overspending. But again, knowing all of this, just think back, right, to your childhood. I mean, I go back to like sophomore year. It's 2003. You're wearing your knockoff Birkenstocks, your flared khakis, your Abercrombie hoodie. You got your BFF. You're going to the mall. You just use your cheese straightener. You're going to go buy a phone case over your Nokia phone. You got your North Face jacket on that you got for Christmas. I mean, all of it. You got about $15, $20. You're going to go to Claire's, call it a day. Go get a Auntie Anne's pretzel from the kiosk. I'm like, that's what we did. Like, that was it. Going to Hollister, can't breathe, can't see, but that is where we lived. I mean, it's it. There wasn't much to it, and you got a little bit of money, you go and spend it, and then you leave. But now, man, those days are gone. It kind of makes me sad. It really does. Going back to those days would make me happy. But again, nowadays, it's not just $15, $20 when you're online. You see it all. It's all right there. Stuff you never would have known existed. But there it is on your phone. And that is why it makes it so easy to overspend, is the knowledge of all this that is out there. and the convenience of spending so quickly. Now, I have some ideas on how to protect ourselves from that risk, but first, I do want to share with you another way to protect yourself online, and that is with our sponsor, Delete Me. I saw a headline recently that really caught my attention, that 1/3 of the U.S. population's background info is now public. So for 115 million of us, data breaches mean that our info is out there for anyone to find. And again, this is our names, our addresses, our phone numbers. I mean, so much. And this is why I love Delete Me, because they find and remove your information from hundreds of data broker websites that go and they buy, they sell, and they trade your personal data. That is what these data broker websites do. And Delete Me goes and takes your data off of these online platforms. So they really let you be in control of your online privacy, which is why I love Delete Me. And individual Delete Me plans start as low as $9 a month. So sign up today at joindeleteme.com/Rachel for 20% off, or click the link in the description. All right, here are 5 ways that you can stop yourself from going over budgets with the wrong click of your smartphone. And spoiler alerts, number 5 is the most important. All right, number 1 is to add to cart and wait. I say this a lot, but I think this is really a great tip, because if you're in a shopping mood, be in it. It's fine, right? Go and enjoy. Click, 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 but don't buy. Let your emotions die down. Go back a day or two later. And usually when you go back and look through the cart, you're like, oh yeah, I really don't need that. Didn't need that. Didn't need that. Didn't need that. It's just amazing. Letting time between you and the purchase can save you money. Number 2, keep an intentional list of all your needs. So think about paper towels. Maybe you have to buy a plane ticket next month because you're going out of town. Whatever is happening in your life, just make a list for it. Don't feel like you have to go buy it right that instant. And then let that list guide you. So whether it's once a week, go and check it and be like, okay, what do I really need right now? And let that be your guide versus this instant idea of oh my gosh, I have to buy something and buy it right now. The third is to make sure that you have money set aside in the budget. So always be using cash. If you are not budgeting, you guys, you have to do this, because this is giving you the guardrails and really the boundaries around spending your money. And it helps you spend in peace. So you can actually create a budget for free with every dollar. So I will leave the link in the description, so make sure to check that out. All right, number 4 is to check your motivation. When you're buying stuff, why are you buying it? Are you doing it because you're bored? Maybe because you're sad? Maybe because you think okay, this will fulfill me. This will bring me happiness or joy. When you know your motivation behind something, it can make you second guess your purchase. And I think it's really healthy to do, is to stop and ask why. One question I always ask is, if nobody sees this purchase, do I still want it? So again, it's getting your motivation in the right spot. Number 5 is to create friction. So those other 4 items on the list should accomplish this. But again, adding time, adding different steps to slow down the process is going to help you. So I really resist creating online accounts on stores that I love, because if so, you can just log in and everything is built in. They know what you like, all your info and your address and all of it is there. So you can buy so much faster, where instead, maybe you go on a website, shop, wait a little bit, see if you really want it a day later. And if you do, still go through the actual buying process of entering your address or entering in your debit card information. So again, putting some time and friction in place is really, really key. So when it comes to spending money, the landscape will always be changing, and your job is to adapt and to keep your habits in check no matter what technology or what trends are out there. So if you have fallen behind a little bit in this area, don't worry, you're not alone. But get back on track and check out my 24-hour money finder. I'm so excited about this, because this is going to help you find some money in 24 hours. This has been really successful for people because it's making you kind of think outside the box, check a couple of things, and again, hopefully find some great margin. Now, overspending and all of this, it's really sneaky. So make sure that you're not falling for any of these subtle scams or these ways that really, marketing tactics that make you want to buy and shop for more. So if that might be you, make sure to check out my episode on signs that you're addicted to shopping with Dr. John Deloney. That's next. Or if you're listening on podcasts, click the link below. All right, you guys, make sure to share this episode with a friend who may love to shop. Because listen, we love a good shopping buddy. And remember to take control of your money and create a life you love. Well, hey, you guys. So according to a 2023 Harris poll for Bloomberg, around 45% of Americans ages 18 to 29 live with their parents. And here's a little fun fact. This percentage was actually about the same as it was in the 1940s. But the reason behind this decision obviously has changed. But today I want to share my thoughts on all sides of this conversation and kind of give you some signs that it might be time to take the next step if you are someone living at home with your parents. Now, before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. So first, here are a few reasons why people are making the decision to keep living with their parents. Some of it is really good motivation. People are like, well, I want to save money. I want to pay off debt. Things are just so expensive that I can, again, lower my cost of living by living with my parents, and I can save and pay off debt, right? So there is a lot of good motivation to this. And I'm all for, to a degree, that idea of saying, hey, how can I cut my expenses? What can I do? But also, we want to make sure that you as a whole person are thriving in life. So while some of that motivation is good, it can have its downside. But people, again, have so many heated opinions on this. But this also can be very nuanced, because there are times that it is you're in a dire situation and your family is a gift in that are able to help you out. I've talked to people and, they've lost a spouse and they moved back in with their parents for a season. I was talking to a guy and he was a truck driver and he literally was home 2 weekends a month and that was it. And he was like, I just spend the night with my parents on those 2 nights. And I'm like, yeah, that totally makes sense. I have another friend and her husband's in the military and he's going to be deployed for 9 months. And so she's going to go and live with her parents during that time for her mom to help with the kids and all of it, right? So there are nuanced situations that it does really make sense. And again, for a season, I think that this can be an okay decision for you to make. But for the long term, in most situations, it ends up not being great. I always think about that rom-com Failure to Launch with Sarah Jessica Parker and Matthew McConaughey. And it's like, oh yeah, you can really see it. It can definitely slow down your personal growth and development in so many ways. And there's something to be said about when you get home and you're like, oh yeah, do I have milk and bread and the basics of life? Are the lights being paid, the bill? There's just things as an adult you have to think through. And when your parents are kind of that safety net to a degree for a long period of time, it's naturally going to stunt a level of your growth. Because I think when you have to go out and do new things, and it is a little scary, maybe you kind of are taking a risk, there's something in that builds character, it builds confidence. And so much of that confidence and taking care of yourself really is one of these keys of success in life and to your money. So here are 5 steps to take to get you ready to move out on your own. Number 1, set a move out date. So if your living situation just stays stagnant, you'll probably never see the end of it. Because having mom and dad take care of you and you may not have to really pay rent or anything. It does sound good, right? But again, it is good for you to be out on your own. So that deadline really keeps you accountable, and it's good communication for you and your parents as well. So have that date out there. And again, this could be 60 days, this could be 6 months, but have a date. Number 2, make sure you can budget for your 4 walls. So you may have to compromise in your life because your starter situation when you move out on your own probably isn't going to be perfect. It may not be ideal, but again, it's your first one, and that's okay. And so what you want to look at are those 4 walls again: food, shelter, utilities, and transportation, making sure that you can cover those 4 walls. Again, it may not be in an area that your parents live in. It may be in an area that you're like, golly, I got to drive an extra, 30 minutes, but this is what I can afford, but making sure those are covered. Now, if you've not checked out our EveryDollar app, this is a free budgeting app. And so open that up, get an account, start that, because this is going to help you take your income and really put it to its best use. Which brings me to number 3 is to have a consistent income. Yeah, you need a job to live out on your own. And so this may be you've put together a couple of side hustles and that works for you. Maybe you're freelancing. Maybe you got a 40-hour-a-week job. Whatever it is, having that consistent income is really, really key. Number 4 is to reevaluate. Again, if you're living at home to hit a certain financial goal, ask yourself if you're actually making progress. Because if you've kind of hit this plateau and maybe you've picked up some extra work, but you're using that extra money to go on vacation or hang out with friends or whatever it is, you're not really putting as much towards these goals than you think you would, maybe reevaluate. And maybe you say, hey, I wanted to be here till I was debt-free, but maybe I move out sooner and I push that debt-free date out a couple of months. But it's worth it because I'm an adult and I'm 26 years old and I'm going to be out on my own. And number 5 is to think big picture. Again, like I said, failure to launch is very real, and you don't know what you don't know until you try. And moving out, you may face, some difficulties at times, but this builds such confidence because you have to problem solve on your own. And long term, this is so good for you. Now, again, I know this topic is very nuanced because neither opinion of you should never move back home or always move back home, neither is inherently wrong. But again, over time, who is it turning you into? And I think that's what's really key, because you have to know that the decisions you're making in your life and your lifestyle are determining who you are as a person. And I just have this belief that when you're out on your own, eventually it just builds something in you that is so, so good. And again, like I said earlier, if you need help when it comes to budgeting, make sure to check out Every Dollar. And for a step-by-step rundown on how to use it, make sure to check out my episode on the right way to do a monthly budget. So make sure to share this episode with a friend who might be in this situation, might need a little, pushing out of the nest. Some good motivation. All right, you guys, remember to take control of your money and create a life you love.